Dane is a minor character in the Fallout show, but they're notable in being the only friend that Maximus has. But I put friend in quotes, because Dane makes a couple of choices in the show that put Maximus directly in harm's way and rob Maximus of what he truly wants. I think Dane does these things with the best of intentions because they truly care for Maximus and wants to protect him. But Dane's problem is that they think they know what's best, and Dane is willing to take action in order to stay safe themselves, in order to protect their friend, even when that friend doesn't want protecting. Dane's friendship with Maximus is solidified in our very first introduction. After Maximus is bullied by the other aspirants, it's Dane who comforts him.
Hey, how's your nose?
Dane helps Maximus to his feet and emotionally supports him when he needs it. We learned from Thaddeus that Maximus recently arrived on this base.
To be honest, me and the other guys used to regularly beat the shit out of him. It wasn't personal, you know? Well, people at the base, they used to beat the shit out of me. This shipment of new recruits came in, and one of them was Maximus. So it's a funny idea. What if we beat the shit out of that guy instead? It worked. Yeah, I was really popular.
Dane saw the other aspirants switch their aggression from Thaddeus to Maximus. Dane was likely here on this base many years before Maximus arrived. Perhaps at one point, Dane was bullied by these aspirants before Thaddeus was. Dane had figured out a way to fit in, to not get bullied, to toe the line, to stay inconspicuous. Lessons that Maximus hasn't learned yet. Maximus does not yet know how to fit in. He needs someone to show him. For whatever reason, Dane saw this bullying and chose not only to not participate in it, but to befriend Maximus and support him. When the Prydwen arrives and the knights aboard the Prydwen store their power armor, Dane sees an opportunity to lift Maximus's spirits.
Come on, I got something I want to show you.
Latrine duty's a two-person job.
I said come on. Well, shit isn't going anywhere.
Dane knows that Maximus has always wanted to be a Brotherhood knight, and so Dane takes Maximus to the hangar where the knight's power armor is being stored. Together they fantasize about someday being knights, but then they're caught, and the first thing Dane does is jump to Maximus's defense.
This was my idea. He didn't want...
summoned. Come with me.
Dane thought that they were going to be getting in trouble for going into the hangar without permission. That's not why the other Brotherhood were there, but Dane didn't know that. Dane was ready to take the blame in order to protect Maximus. Perhaps Dane thought that if they took the blame instead of Maximus, they'd never receive commendation. They'd never get a promotion, because fitting in kinda backfired on Dane. Dane ended up getting a bit too much positive attention and rewards that they didn't really want. We find out shortly thereafter why they came for Dane.
A bunch of us were chosen to get anointed.
Hey, what's your title gonna be?
Squire, tonight Titus. And get this, we're going to the wilds. Hell yeah!
Dane was exalted instead of Maximus. And it's here where Maximus displays his own negative character attributes. Instead of being happy for Dane, Maximus is jealous. While on latrine duty, he flies into a rage. Dane, for all appearances, was thrilled, and all the other aspirants crowded around Dane, expressing their congratulations. But not Maximus. Maximus sulks, which is why when Dane gets injured, everybody thinks it was Maximus who did it.
Do you know who did it?
No.
Your fellow aspirants say it was you.
This injury meant that Dane could no longer become a squire. Maximus was appointed in Dane's place, and when Maximus came to comfort Dane, Dane was really careful with their words.
I heard you got my spot. They asked if it was you. I told him you wouldn't hurt a fly.
Dane was playing a careful game here. They didn't want to alienate Maximus by accusing him of this horrible crime, but they also didn't want Maximus to discover the truth. And when everybody else in the entire base thought that Maximus did it, including Quintus, Dane would at least have to entertain the idea that Maximus did it as well. Dane didn't accuse Maximus with words, but they accused Maximus with their eyes. It's the way Dane looked at Maximus, the pause in Dane's speech, that gives us the impression that Dane was accusing Maximus of the injury, which is why, much later, towards the very end of the entire series, when we learn that Dane's wound was self-inflicted.
I fear you lied then, just as you lie now.
Please, my lord. My injury was my own doing, not his. For the sake of the Brotherhood, please listen to him.
It comes as a huge surprise. How do we reconcile these two scenes? Apart from simply saying that it was a red herring by the producers of the show, because these moments in time happened canonically within the show, and we still have to explain them to maintain the continuity of the world. In this scene, Dane knows that their wound was self-inflicted. Dane knows that the only person who wasn't happy for them when they were exalted to become a squire was Maximus. And Dane would have been a fool not to know that Maximus would have been the first person that the Brotherhood would have blamed for their injury. If Dane really cared for Maximus, why would Dane frame Maximus? Of course, later in the show, Dane swears up and down that they didn't know that Maximus would get accused.
Hey, I was just scared of going to the wilds. I had no idea they'd blame you for it. I'm sorry.
I think this, however, is preposterous. Of course Maximus would have been accused. He was unpopular with absolutely everyone, and he was the only person who was jealous of Dane's appointment. Clearly, Dane is emotionally distraught during the scene when they confess to Quintus. Dane is doing everything they can to save Maximus's life here, and they wouldn't have done that if they didn't care deeply for Maximus. That's not something you do if self-preservation is your only motive, which means Dane has conflicting motives here. They injured themselves for two reasons. First, because Dane didn't want to go out into the wilds. Dane was scared. Dane was a coward. They wanted to stay on the base in relative safety. And secondly, Dane knew that Maximus really wanted to go out into the wilds. Perhaps Dane foresaw that Quintus would not only think that Maximus maimed Dane, but that Quintus would also see it as evidence of Maximus's ambition and would therefore anoint Maximus in Dane's place.
Your friend was promoted, you were not. You have ambitions, don't you?
And yet power is taken, not given. The lesson you seem to have learned.
It's a bit of a gamble, but I think it's the best explanation for Dane's behavior here. And it is ultimately what happened.
Good boy. And you will be Knight Titus' new squire.
Instead of becoming a squire, instead of going out into the wilds, Dane became a technician. Dane became a scribe, and Maximus became the squire to Knight Titus. But Dane couldn't have foreseen what would happen to Maximus in the wilds. The people Maximus would meet, the way Maximus would change. Dane couldn't foresee that Maximus's deep ambition to become a knight would lead to the death of Knight Titus. Dane couldn't foresee that Maximus would fall in love with a vault dweller, which would cause him to change priorities, and ultimately betray the Brotherhood.
Find your dad. Go home. They're never going to stop looking for the artifact.
And so when Maximus was dragged before Quintus near the end of the series, Dane was really shooken up. Maximus was in this position because of Dane's choices. So far, Dane had been kept safe, but here Maximus was in danger. He was about to be executed by the Brotherhood, and Dane still deeply cared for Maximus. Dane felt that Maximus needed protection, and they were the only one who could protect him. That's why Dane ultimately confessed the truth to Quintus. And when they finally apologized to Maximus, it was with genuine earnestness. It's during this conversation that Max confides in Dane and tells Dane his ultimate goals.
I met someone. I'm leaving with her. I am going back to where she came from. A vault.
He wants to leave the Brotherhood? He fell in love and wants to move into a vault?
It's a place that's peaceful and safe, where nobody ever goes to war.
Dane looks at him with bemusement and pity. Dane thinks he's naive because Dane has a hopeless belief that there is no escaping the Brotherhood.
There's nowhere safe, Max. And there's no leaving. I wish there was.
Despite everything Max has been through, he's still naive. He still needs to be protected. And the only one who can protect him is Dane. And this, I think, can explain Dane's later choices at the very end of the series. Despite their best efforts to stay out of danger, both Maximus and Dane are thrust into combat. They are on the ground, weapons in hand, invading the Griffin Observatory, working together to stay out of trouble and to stay alive. During the assault, a lot happens off-screen that's just simply not explained to us. Despite both of them being in the landing party that assaulted the Griffin Observatory, neither of them were killed by the ghoul when the ghoul ambushed the Brotherhood inside the observatory. Somehow Dane and Maximus survived, and it's not explained how. Somehow they got separated, which led to Maximus stumbling into the lab long before the rest of the Brotherhood got there. When Dane and the Brotherhood finally arrive in the lab, Maximus is standing over the body of Moldaver, their enemy. And it's here where Dane took the initiative to yet again protect Maximus, but this time from himself.
You killed her.
No, Dane.
All hail Maximus! That shall be night hereafter!
From all appearances, it looks like Dane is really coming to Maximus's defense here, just as Dane has done throughout the entire series, looking after Maximus, keeping him from danger. And yet, just as Dane injured themselves in order to make Maximus a squire, here Dane concocts a false story in order to give Maximus glory. Maximus didn't kill Moldaver, but there was no one else in the room when Moldaver died. Who's to say that Dane is wrong? Who's going to argue with them? And Dane knows that squires are promoted to knights after completing an act of bravery, something we learned from Knight Titus earlier in the series.
You earn the suit through acts of bravery. This is an act of bravery.
And so quickly, thinking on their feet, Dane proclaims Maximus the slayer of Moldaver. Maximus has therefore completed a brave deed, and therefore Maximus shall become a knight.
All hail Knight Maximus! All hail Knight Maximus! All hail Knight Maximus!
Perhaps this was Dane's way of paying Maximus back for getting him in trouble earlier. But at the same time, Dane knows now that Maximus doesn't want to be in the Brotherhood. They know that Maximus no longer really cares about being a knight. And yet Dane went through this entire rigmarole anyway. Why? To keep Maximus safe. Dane didn't want Maximus to leave. Dane felt that the safest place for Maximus was within the Brotherhood. When Maximus confided in Dane his true goals, his true desires, Dane looked on with incredulity. Maximus was a naive fool, thinking he could escape the Brotherhood. But he was foolish enough to try, and Dane needed to do something about it to keep Maximus safe. What better way to keep Maximus safe than to turn him into a hero, to turn him into a Brotherhood knight, to give him what he always wanted, so he had one more reason to stay. And from all appearances, it worked. Like real people, Dane has conflicting goals and conflicting character attributes. Dane is a survivalist who wants to stay out of danger, a coward who's afraid of being placed in the wilds. Dane is also a friend who cares for Maximus and is even willing to put themselves in danger in order to clear Maximus's name, in order to protect him. And at the same time, Dane is selfish, willing to rob Maximus of what he really wants in order to keep him close and safe. What are your thoughts on Dane as they're presented in the show? Do you think Maximus will harbor resentment towards Dane in Season 2? Do you think Dane's role will grow? Will this character become something more than a survivor, just trying to navigate the pitfalls of being in the Brotherhood? And what happens if Maximus actually does leave the Brotherhood? Will Dane follow, or will they do something else to try and keep Maximus here? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I publish new Fallout videos each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss my next one, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have already, but you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I've got a plush for sale. It's in stock and ready to ship, but quantities are limited and I'm almost sold out. When it's gone, it's gone. So if you want to make sure you get one before it is, snag yours today. I've also got a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes and in a wide array of colors. They come on other items as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in another way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. YouTube members get little badges that appear next to their names in the comment sections of my videos, and they gain access to ox emojis that they can use in my video comments and in the live chats of my live streams. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more Fallout videos.
What was that? Over here! Over here!